Yeah, start recording. And are we live? We're live. Okay, so let's clean up the screen. I actually turned off Starfield an hour and a half before tonight's stream. Like just a little after 9 o'clock. I turned off Starfield. And here I am getting ready to begin the stream. Well, I guess that was like almost 2 hours, isn't it? And there we go. So here's the thing. I want to talk about a concept before I get started on anything in particular. I want to talk about a concept, and that concept is teaching. I think everybody teaches. I think everybody teaches in a particular fashion, and that fashion basically goes like this. Here's the foundation. You have to teach this, or you can't even do the thing, okay? But then, after you teach that, there's a bunch of other stuff. And every teacher goes, okay, here's all of the... What is going on? Oh, that's turned down to 16%. That's turned down to 22%. Okay. So, and every teacher then goes, so on top of that foundation, here are all of the things that I found useful to actually get shit done when I was learning from my teachers. And there's only one problem, okay? They teach you all of this stuff. So then you go off and you do your thing and you learn your stuff. And the problem that you have is this isn't everything. The other stuff you need to learn is over here, okay? And this stuff over here, you got to figure out for yourself. So, some of the people from your generation are also going to become teachers. And those who become teachers from your generation are going to leave out all of the stuff their teachers taught them because that stuff wasn't helpful. See, what they understand they need this foundation right here. They understand this is absolutely essential. You must have this. They also know it wasn't enough. What they needed was this stuff right here. But they didn't need this stuff that their teachers taught them because that didn't help. That wasn't enough. That didn't close the gap from the foundation that you need to actually doing a good job. So your generation of teachers is going to teach this stuff, and they're not going to teach the other stuff. Now guess what's going to happen in the next generation? They learn all this stuff you teach them, and then they have to go learn all that other stuff on their own. So when they go and learn all that other stuff on their own, they get around to teaching. Guess what they're not teaching? They're not teaching the stuff you learned that was helpful. So I feel like there's this constant sort of swapping back and forth between different stuff that needs to get taught. And what kind of leads me to feel this way is I've been going through Hogarth, and of course, going through Hogarth, there's all of this stuff that he goes over that you don't really hear from a lot of modern teachers, you know? But on top of that, there's all of this stuff that you still have to learn on your own. There are all of these little things that you need to figure out, like this bit right here. If you look over here, let's actually zoom in on this. You can see that, use a brighter color. You can see that Hogarth has done this sort of interlacing thing here. Okay? And when you look, there's a plane that runs along here. That is the side of the finger. But then on the front of the finger, he has this kind of thing going on. Okay? And he does this explicitly in some of the stuff that he draws. But the kind of important thing on this is, I was looking at this and I was going, that's how you draw braided hair. If you're drawing braided hair, that's how you do it. And then you shade in the area underneath of it, like so. And then you do some shading along the bottom, and you do some highlights in the front. You put a little shadow over there. And once you do the shading on it, what you have there is like it's braided hair. It's the same basic concept. And I was thinking that this concept here, this recurs over and over again, this basic idea of things being tucked into one another, okay? And you can see it here in the hands that Hogarth is doing. And you can also see it in hair when you just like watch some anime or whatever. But nobody ever calls that out. Nobody ever says it out loud. And when you notice something like that, you're inordinately proud of yourself because you found it all by yourself. And you're not the first person to find it. You know, other people have noticed that. Other people know that's how it works. And they found that exact same thing. They just never got around to teaching anybody because a lot of us, when we notice something like that, we don't think there's any reason to tell other people that. Surely everybody else knows it too, right? Right, of course they do. All of y'all knew that, right? So anyway, I've been continuing to work on this stuff, work on hands, and look at palmar structures and how they fit together, like right here. What we can see right here is we can see the top underneath of this. This would be the thinner prominence right there. And the top of it, we have this bit right here. One of the things that I've always found interesting is there's a bunch of muscle right here in between the thumb and the first finger, and a lot of people just kind of neglect that and don't think about it. I certainly don't think about it. But there's a lot of muscle in there, right in here. That's a lot of muscle, and when this thumb comes up, that muscle is going to bulge. That's going to create this big kind of bulge right there. And a lot of people don't do that. Anyway, what Hogarth's going over here, and one of the things that I'm thinking about, here's your wrist right in this area, right here. And here's where your thumb is, and that goes across the midpoint of the hand. And then that first knuckle of the thumb here goes across the knuckles of the rest of the fingers. And then the tip of the thumb goes across the next knuckle. And you can kind of see that. You can look at your hand and you can go, well, yeah, here's the back of the thumb, and that goes right across the midpoint of the hand. And here's the first joint in the thumb, and that goes kind of right across those knuckles right there. And here's the tip of the thumb, and that goes right across these knuckles right here. And these sort of observations, these things that Hogarth is writing down about hands, these are very much the kind of things that helped him and that nobody ever taught him. But as I was saying last week when I was talking about Bridgman, Bridgman has a whole different view on all of this. And I feel like every generation of artists is actually like rediscovering the same quote unquote secret techniques. It's just that we all have a slightly different secret set of techniques, you know? This damn chair, I hate this chair. I need a new chair. So that's where that was coming from, is where I was going, yeah, you know, we got this foundation. Everybody knows you need this foundation, you know, but then one generation thinks you need this stuff because that's what helped them. But that's not enough. And because that's not enough, the next generation has to discover this part all by themselves because that's what helped them. And then they teach this. And they teach this, of course, because you need this. You gotta have this or you can't do it. But they don't teach that part over there. So everybody's kind of teaching this partial view of what's going on, and we just kind of flip back and forth between which part we're teaching. And this foundation, ideally, all of this stuff would migrate its way down into the foundation, but I don't know if it ever does. I mean, we should kind of have the whole foundation kick over. And I feel like there's a mistake a lot of people make when they're dealing with teachers. Marketing coaches kind of leverage this. What they will do is they will follow a person that they think is about to be successful around, and they will give them advice. And the advice that they give them isn't bad advice. It's just advice that they were likely to take anyway. Just stuff they were likely to do no matter what. And what they're really after is they want you to do the thing they just told you to do so they can take credit for your results when you do it. And if they're lucky, you will believe that they're the one who told you this brilliant thing that you did. That's how they get these testimonials from people that do really, really well. Most people that work hard and do well at any particular thing are going to have their breakthrough moment. And there are these parasites in every coaching and teaching community that want to follow you around and go, oh, I get the credit for that. I'm the one who taught you that. You have to tell everybody that I taught you that. And that sort of thing is just, it's how they pile up all of these accolades from people who have done well. And then they turn around and they go, I'm responsible for the success of all these people. And no, not really. No, you're not. You're not responsible for the success of all those people. You just followed them around until they were successful and said, hey, remember I told you to do the thing? There are some people that have consistently told me to do things that worked. There are some people who have consistently told me not to do things that wouldn't work, and then I did the things anyway and they didn't work, and they said, see, I told you, you should have done what I told you to do. There are people who have done that consistently, and I give them all the credit they deserve for telling me lots of stuff that worked. But a whole lot of people out there are trying to take the credit for telling you the secret that gets you to the breakthrough. The secret is probably going to come from you. You're going to get through this. If you just keep working, if you just keep practicing, then you're going to get to the point where you're drawing the stuff you want to draw and painting the stuff you want to paint, and doing the stuff that you want to do. And when you get to that point, there's almost certainly going to be somebody trying to go, hey, you got there because of me, right? And maybe you did, you know, but give it some critical thought. Don't just give them credit because they want the credit. Actually make sure they're the one that gave you the advice that mattered. One of the issues I'm having with hands is I'm not very good at keeping the planes of hands. And hands are kind of like if you took a circle and you whacked off the top of it. It kind of bulges out to the sides and it kind of bulges out at the bottom, but it's flat on the top mostly until you get to the end of the finger, and then the fingernail is kind of bowed up. So you get this kind of, here's your fingernail here, and then the flesh kind of bumps up around it. But then it's flat on the top mostly. And as the finger goes back, you get this thing going on that Hogarth talks about this rather a lot. He talks about the interlacing of the joint to the advancing member. Which is to say, you've got two pieces that are coming together. The one that's closer to you goes in front. It's like, here's a finger that's coming towards you, obviously. If the finger were going away from you, then number one, you wouldn't be able to see the fingernail. But those all the little bits and pieces, and you can see that here actually. Now I'll just zoom in on this and just go, and you see here, if it's going away from you, it overlaps like that. Whereas if it's coming towards you, it overlaps like that. You've got your kind of, this is a thing that this is a thing that I've been thinking about lately. Top of the finger is kind of flat, which means the shading, okay? The shadow, if this part is in shadow over here, that shadow is going to cut off relatively abruptly right here, okay? Regardless of whether this side or this side is in shadow, all right? Right here, the edge of that shadow is going to be pretty abrupt, you know? But if you have a shadow on the bottom of the finger, well, the bottom of the finger is very curved. And because the bottom of the finger is very curved, you get a much softer kind of shadow. The edge of a shadow is very kind of, I go to flat color here. Kill the sketch. The edge of a shadow, if you've got a sharp edge right here like this, your shadow is just going to end at that edge. That's just what's going to happen. It's just going to end at that edge because the edge is very sharp. But as the edge rounds, you start to get more and more of a, you start to get a softer shadow. Still not happy with blending shadows. So if I start like right here, I think what I actually want is to kind of watercolor it, I guess. I sort of watercolor downward with just a little bit of pressure. That gives me a kind of softer edge, and then I can watercolor back the other direction, kind of push in. I can kind of push the light into the shadow there, like that. And then I can and kind of clean that up. So I'm bringing the blending brush. Smooth it out a little. Very good with this. One of the things I've been doing is just kind of following contours with my blending. Not very good at blending. I feel like you want to sort of push it back too far and then kind of pull it back out. And what I'm doing here is I'm letting the weight of the stylus rest on the screen and just kind of flicking it downward. And there's not a lot of control in that, but kind of like the look of the fingertip. I don't know. I'm just not very good at. I'm not very good at getting the kind of soft shading I'm looking for. I want to kind of sweep that down and have it become mostly transparent. And working with a watercolor brush seems like a good way to do that, but striking that balance doesn't seem easy. Maybe very stark and then kind of drag it downward. I'm bad at shading. I'm very bad at shading. I don't know what to do about it. Maybe what I need is a pressure opacity. Pressure size. Soft. Built this for the purpose of soft shading. So, know that that works so well. Built this for cell shading. Okay. Have a harder edge to it. Not sure whether that really works either. Okay, but anyway, back to hands. Let's try and talk about hands. This is a terrible stream. Bent fingers are like especially difficult, I feel, because you have this kind of weird thing going on here. There's sort of here's the plane, the top of the finger, and then here you have this sort of barreling shape, and that barreled shape kind of continues I feel like my proportions are way off, like they're always way off. Like I'm either making my fingers way too fat or way too skinny. Now this here, this should be two-thirds the length of this. But you see how skinny that makes it. My proportions are all off. And then when you get back to the full-on version right here, you get like this. It just feels way off. It's the proportions of fingers that I feel like I have the most difficulty with at this point. Like right here, this is just way too spidery skinny. I have very much done this sort of I'm very frustrated by all of this. I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere or learning anything. I mean, I am. These are much better. These are much better than I would have done just like last week. But they're still, to my mind, just not very good. So this thumb is coming out here. This is the midpoint of the hand. So here's the rest of the palm. Here it is sweeping across. And here is the rest of the hand. Here's like the knuckles. That would come right around there, and then this is the first knuckle of the fingers right there. And then here we have sort of this is a little bit longer. This is a little bit shorter right there. And then here's the end of the little finger. There's the fingernail. And there's some value to that, just kind of working from principles, but it still looks kind of chunky. And I feel like I made the thumb too slim. I feel like that's the issue there, is that when I drew the thumb much too small. I'm very generally dissatisfied and frustrated with my art right now, and kind of this is the time of year, incidentally, that I'm thinking about how to make changes and do stuff differently. It's Rosh Hashanah, so Shana Tova to everybody who celebrates, and the Jewish New Year is when I kind of start looking at everything in my life and going, what's going well and what's not going well, and what do I want to go better, and what do I want to fit together better, and I don't really have a clear picture of what I want to do better. I don't know how to do stuff better. This is kind of a point of reflection for me. The period between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is when I kind of sit there and I go, well, what do I want to improve over the course of the next year? And then, Yom Kippur is, of course, the day of affliction, and you look at yourself and you go, what did I fuck up last year that I really need to stop doing and work on and fix about myself? And then after that, typically there's my birthday, and I'm going to be 54 this year. And around my birthday is typically where I start going, okay, I'm going to start doing the stuff that I need to be doing. And I am not sure what that stuff is this year. God damn it, fucking chair. I swear this thing is awful. I hate it. So I don't know. I don't really know where I'm going with that. I really don't know. I really don't know how things are going to change in the coming year. But one of the many things I need to think about is when does the new season start? When do we start season 3 of Sketch Weekly? And what is Sketch Weekly going to be going into season 3? And I don't know. I feel like we need to start getting the music in here. I feel like I need to be doing something about the music for the game, and I need to start doing something about the development of the game. And speaking of the game, thank God I'm using Godot and not Unity, because that debacle that's going on right now with 20 cents an install, yeah, fuck that shit. I'm doing a free-to-play game. And I don't anticipate anybody's going to pay much of anything for it. Although it's kind of an interesting idea, I think, once the game actually comes out. I think I'm going to push on that and go, if you want to support me, the best way to do that is to download my free-to-play game and play it and buy some stuff in the in-app purchases. That's the best way to support my work, is to buy shit in my free-to-play game. One of my ridiculous ideas for that game is, what the hell? One of my ridiculous ideas for that game is that the leaderboard is just going to be how much money did you spend? Just going to be like, just blatant pay to win. Oh, you want to be on the leaderboard? Spend money. The person who spent the most money is at the top of the leaderboard. Want to be at the top of the leaderboard? Easy. Pull out the credit card. Top guy on the leaderboard is going to be somebody who spent $8. Yeah, free-to-play games do not make a lot of money. You know, there was a point where they used to make a lot of money, but they really don't anymore, because nobody wants to spend money on them. And really, if you design your free-to-play game properly, you don't have to spend money on it. You know, people should be able to play the game and have fun forever, and unfortunately, you get people like me. And my game is very much for people like me. You have people like me that we start up at venture capitalists, and they go, hey, here's a first-time purchase bonus. You get this thing on sale. And I'm like, well, as long as that's in the store, that's proof I've never bought anything in the store. It becomes a bragging rights thing. I never spent any money. And I anticipate that's going to be a lot of my player base. I don't think I'm going to have a very big player base in the first place. Who the hell wants to collect panties? It's more for the experience of putting a game on Steam and the data I can gather on the people that play it, and developing a community, and getting more people on my Discord, and getting those people that do show up on the Discord to talk to me about the things they do and don't like about the next game, which is the exact opposite. The games I have planned, I have a series of 5 games planned, and the first 3 of them are examining the whole groping question from first, second, and third person perspectives. Because the first one is, you know, you are the groper in the first person, and you are going out and you're groping these girls to grab their panties. And then the second game is, you're the girl who's getting her panties stolen. You're the girl that people are trying to grope. And that's a different perspective on that. And, you know, you make a kind of horde survival game out of that. Basically a Vampire Survivors clone. And then the third game is a tower defense game that's more about, you're not groping anybody, you're not going to get groped, but you're protecting the person who's going to get groped from the people that are trying to grope them. And that's going to be kind of an interesting thing, because I have an idea how to make that different from other tower defense games, but I'm not sure how well it's going to work. I have this idea that that instead of, you say, build the tower here, and the tower just pops up, I have this idea that you have assistants who run around and actually put up the towers. So you, quote unquote, your avatar in the game is in a watchtower looking down at the playing field, and you direct other people, you go build the tower over here, and the different assistants can build different types of towers. but the assistants themselves are also able to defend. So I feel like that can create some interesting game mechanics, and it should always be about interesting game mechanics. Everything fundamentally, no matter what it is you're trying to accomplish as the larger and greater goal, your first and foremost concern needs to be, number one, the player needs to have fun, and number two, the game mechanics need to be interesting. They need to be a little different than other stuff. There needs to be something about it that is not like other games. And then the fourth game is just this big visual novel that explains the whole story that's going on behind the scenes, because all of this stuff is happening for a reason. And then the fifth game is a dating simulator. Just once you resolve all the stuff that's happening, everybody just kind of kicks back and goes to the bar and goes, "Let's get laid." So that's kind of the idea there. And then I have a sideline of visual novels that go alongside of that are just, those are the real kind of, the art has to kick up an extra notch, because that secondary line of video games, that's just basically going to be porn. And if I were to make my predictions, I think the porn's going to be the moneymaker. I think if anything makes any money, it'll be the porn. People buy porn. I don't know why. There's free porn everywhere, but I guess people never get tired of porn. I don't use porn the way other people do. I don't understand the way that other people engage with porn. I engage with porn by looking at it and going, "Oh, that's kind of it." Apparently people are making messes on their keyboard while they watch porn, and I don't understand that. Why? You can't wait till later? You can't do that some other time? You got to do it right now, right here, while you're looking at it? This is why you can't get a date. It's this ridiculous attachment that you have to getting to the end of the journey before you take the journey. It's not healthy. Yeah. But anyway, I don't know. We're at about the 45-minute mark. We're getting close to the 45-minute mark. Really don't feel like I've done much. How much have I done? I mean, does it at least look like I've done some talking and thinking and working? This is all the stuff that I did last week. Here. Here's the stuff that I was working on this week. But yeah. There's the beginning of the hour. There's me working on shading and trying to get something that doesn't look like crap. It doesn't look as much like crap when it's smaller. I mean, there's certainly progress being made. I can at least be happy that there is progress being made, but I don't know. It just feels like there should be more progress being made, and I don't know. I have been spending way too much time playing Starfield, so I don't have much else to say right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and call it. Do the little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe, hit the little bell icon, all of that happy horse shit, and okay, bye.